Hi, thanks for tuning in to the Purple Team podcast. I'm Eliza May Austin and I am joined today by Jamal Harris.
So I'm Jamal Harris or Jay Harris. Either of those is totally fine. Some people, especially in Manchester, know me more as Jay. Actually, sometimes they're surprised to hear that my name is actually slightly longer than that. I work, I run a pen test company called Digitalinterruption, where I'm the director, but more accurately, I'm the lead pen tester. So I lead our red team engagements, our penetration testing. My particular interest is in web applications and kind of mobile applications. I love software. I love pulling things apart, understanding how they work. And because of my interest, I think specifically in mobile apps, I've started to do a lot of work around software-defined radio. Mobile apps, they use a lot of Bluetooth, NFC. So that kind of really been my main area of focus for the last little while. But as a company, we do more than just pen testing. Our big thing that we're trying to push at the moment is this idea around like DevSecops and actually helping companies to not need us in a way. We don't want to we don't want to always just be there doing pen testing. I find that to be kind of like a limited use of our time and of the client's budgets, to be honest. So our goal always is to try and make sure that they can rely on themselves so that they don't need to rely on us so much.
So in your intro there, you mentioned DevSecops and how you want companies essentially to not need you anymore, and you want to make yourselves redundant and then go on and get new customers. So that is very much the thought process at that security company as well. And I was just thinking, as you were talking, how DevSecops and purple teaming actually both boil down to transparency from provider to customer, and how the industry is so predicated at the moment upon hiding what you're doing. DevSecops forces you to be transparent between multiple teams, with your developers, your business capabilities, your business side rather, and your security teams. You have to be transparent in order for DevSecops to work. If you're not transparent, it doesn't work. And it's exactly the same with purple teaming. If your offensive and defensive side and don't speak and they don't communicate well, and that information isn't relayed back to the business, that's not purple teaming. It's not working. So I just think it's really interesting. How your ethos is really similar to ours.
To be honest, I think it's the way that security needs to go. In my experience, I've been doing pen testing for a long time, and the thing that frustrates me, as it does, I'm sure with almost every pen tester, is when you're called back kind of year after year, and you see the same vulnerabilities. That oftentimes literally the same vulnerabilities. They've not been fixed, and it kind of. It does demotivate you in a way. You know that you're going to be asked to spend a lot of time, potentially traveling on site, away from your home, away from your family, and you're doing this work that it doesn't really mean much. So I feel like with DevSecops, if we can, and with purple teaming, but if we can help companies to do it themselves, it's not just them thinking of it as like a tick box. It is something that really becomes a core part of their culture, their company culture, and really does direct what their product, whether that's a web application they're writing or, if there's a service they have, but what they're doing is kind of secure from the start. I think that's really the benefit. And that's why I think we probably are starting to see companies, like yours and mine, spring up that are really trying to do that, because we do see the limitation in how security is traditionally kind of run.
Yeah, and I think when you say that pen testers find it really demotivating and annoyed, they get annoyed by it when they go back to the same customer and they're seeing the same things. I think that's true, but I also think there's providers out there, larger companies that sell penetration testing, that depend on those customers. So they intentionally don't push having this transparency in place. And I've seen it before when I've been at providers where they say, yeah, but we'll have that customer again next year. And it's the
Yeah,
attitude that they've got.
I've seen it too, but it's kind of a funny thing. It definitely is a kind of like, I think it's both customers and providers in a way. So when I started Digital Interruption, I was actually adamant that we wouldn't do pen testing. That pen testing is just not something we're going to do. We're going to focus on DevSecops. We're going to help customers. Blah blah blah. This big vision of kind of what the company was going to be. And then a few months in, I was like, where are all our customers? Because it turned out that actually a lot of the customers they do ask for pen testing. Now, I agree. They ask for it because that's what they think security is, because they've been told that's what security is. But it definitely is kind of a joint thing. It's difficult to go in and try and convince some of these companies that actually they should be thinking about it in a different way. So, yeah, I do agree that there is something that is pushed by a lot of the providers because it's kind of the easy thing. But also, I think I think some providers are not looking at alternatives because the customers are demanding what they were already selling, if that makes sense.
I just asked Jay, so I just cut a whole section there because I really annoyed myself listening to it back. I was like, So really fucking annoying. Sorry about that, guys. So just so it's not too disjointed, I thought I'd just repeat the question. So I'm asking Jay now about ethics in information security, and his Digital Interruption. His brand is known for being pretty ethical, and he's known for being a nice guy. And I'm just wondering how they've tied that into their business model.
Yeah, I do think that there's a lot of companies out there that do need help with security, and maybe they don't have the budget or the I guess the contacts, because a lot of it, if it's a large company, there's usually a sheet of paper that says, every product needs to get pen tested before it goes out, and that's kind of an easy thing. If you're part of the supplier list, yeah, the pen tests come in. But there's this whole other group of companies that don't work like that because they're too small and they don't have a massive budget. So one thing that we try to do when we are doing pen testing is, for the companies that do need it, they can literally go on our website and they can see how much a pen test will be. But of course, our price is a bit lower than our competitors. They can be, because we're a smaller company, which is good. But the idea is that, yeah, we want everything to be transparent. Now, what it does mean is if you go through that way, the reason why we can kind of do that is because we're not having the same scoping process. So we kind of expect them to do the scope. So they fill out a form, they give us the URL, give us some information about how how big the application is, just blah blah blah, just like kind of standard stuff really. And then we'll just book in a test and do it. And what that means is, again, they can see exactly how much it's going to be, and it's a very kind of defined process. Now, for a lot of our customers, they do require more of a bespoke thing. So we do the more traditional scoping, figure out how many days it will be. I'll talk to them more in depth about the technologies. So for some companies, they do need kind of our support. But for the companies that are small, they don't have much of a budget, but they know they need to get a pen test because, for example, one of their customers are requesting it, or it's just something that they know is kind of on their to-do list. But because the process is fairly complex, especially when you go to one of the larger providers, they can just go onto our site, enter some details, and then get the pen test booked in. And I find that to be kind of like, something that we do that for some companies, it does take away the kind of the surprise, or again, if you've not been through the process before, if you don't have a suppliers list, it can be difficult, knowing where to even start.
Yeah, and you just sort of making it accessible.
Yeah, we do try to, for sure.
That's cool. Near the start of COVID, you guys came up with this sort of genius idea. I saw it on a LinkedIn post and I just thought, that's awesome. Why are more people not doing that? Where you are sort of helping, you are helping customers with their DevSecops through using instant messaging on Slack. Just tell me how that works, because I'm just intrigued to get it straight in my mind how that sort of thing can work in purple teaming as well. So how's it work?
So yeah, it works pretty well. Now it's not just for DevSecOps. It's a way really for us to have a security expert on their team. So this actually started because we do have some customers on the smaller side where they can't afford to have in-house security teams. But the particular company that we kind of started this with, they are very kind of conscious of their security. In fact, it's actually really, I'm really impressed with them, to be honest, because they really do, they care. They're one of the few companies that I could say that really care about security. But again, they're small, limited budget. So what we said to them is, we'll just join your Slack channel, and you can just drop us some messages when you need them. If you need us for kind of longer bits of work, that's fine. Let us know, and then we can like either scope them up separately or just charge you a day rate or whatever. But just have someone there to almost oversee what they're doing, to answer some questions that they might ask. And I feel that was working well, and so did they. They were able to get access to the expertise without having to pay the cost to bring in someone in house, because security people are quite expensive. And then COVID happened. And I started to think, is this something that we could actually expand? And is it something that other customers would want? So, started speaking to some of our other clients, and they were quite into the idea as well, especially, again, since this other customer, he was really struggling to get the skills that he needed. And this wasn't a budget issue. He just literally couldn't find people that were able to do the job and to bring those skills in house. So speaking to him, and thought, let's try and turn this into a service. And people seem to be responding really well to it. I think especially given that it's we are thinking about lockdown now. It is harder to go on site. People are thinking about other ways that they can try and do security. And again, because of how difficult it can be to find people to fill those roles. I agree. It does just make total sense. Now, I mentioned we use Slack. That's kind of the kind of the easiest way that we have. And to be honest, that's what all our customers are using as well. But there's no reason why it has to be kind of limited to Slack. We were actually thinking of other ways, maybe even email. As long as it's something, and the general process is, we want to be involved with whatever communication platform our customers are using, just to be there, really. Sometimes, to be honest with you, I think sometimes they just feel better knowing that there's someone there that kind of has their back and isn't just trying to upsell them extra services or so they don't have to feel scared to kind of listen to like ask for advice. So that's kind of how it started. Actually, I kind of did start to have this idea a few years back, not in any kind of meaningful way, but in a few of the talks I've given about DevSecOps, this was an idea I pushed, because I worked as a pen tester for this company. I was in-house in their pen test team, large company, massive company, tiny pen test team. And I was talking to my colleagues, and I said, okay, so like, how are the devs like communicating with the pen test team? And they said, that they'll email us when they need to. I said, okay, that's kind of weird, because I've noticed that they're all using Slack. And they said, yeah, we could join Slack, but we don't really want to. They'll email us or use Skype for Business or something. I said, okay, well, I'm going to join Slack anyway, and I'm going to see what happens. And so I joined Slack, and actually I answered more questions just being in their Slack channels than came through by email. So it's kind of at that point when I did realize that for a lot of developers, they do just ask, like they talk amongst themselves, or they will. They feel more comfortable doing it this way than like a formal thing to the security team. So just trying to get rid of some of those barriers.
Well, when I saw it, I just thought, oh, that's such a good idea. So we use Slack,
Mhm.
and we had a purple team engagement during lockdown, which was really heavily reliant on Slack. Um, just literally dumping things in a general
Mhm.
chat. Has anyone seen this? Yes, okay. Can you screenshot the evidence? Like that kind of thing. And it actually worked fantastically. So
Mhm.
with purple team engagements, we would like to do them traditionally in a room together
Mhm.
with defense and offense. We weren't able to, but we were able to utilize Slack and like a video chat as well. But it actually worked a lot better than we anticipated,
Yeah.
because you have not only do you have the same sort of sense of accessibility as you would if you were in the room with someone, you also have those private chats as well. So
Mhm. Mhm.
if someone is sort of embarrassed, if they don't know something or they're unsure of something that they found or whatever, they can just ping you it. And I don't know, there's just something about it, like the having the option of this private chat as well, which you wouldn't have in person. Someone would have to whisper, like, excuse me, can you just come here? And just like,
Yeah.
um, I can't find this, or I've been looking in our seam and I can't seem to find the activity, when it might actually be legit and they're not doing anything wrong. It might not be there. But it's incredibly embarrassing for some people, and that's something me and you spoke about in passing before, about
Mhm.
how people in cybersecurity on either side of the offense defense fence kind of struggle to admit something they don't know. And I
Definitely.
think, yeah, so I think things like this really show us silver linings in a crisis. So yeah, I was thinking like, what an excellent service, and what a fantastic thing to do in terms of DevSecops, where you're having that say as a security person in a team, and you've essentially virtually joined a team,
Mhm.
and you can do exactly the same with purple teaming. And I was thinking companies that maybe have a security team, and they have defense and devs and infrastructure, they haven't all just completely fractured and not spoke during lockdown. They might have even spoke more
Mhm.
because they don't have to walk over to someone else's desk or
Yeah.
send like really formal emails and stuff.
Well, that's the thing with a lot of these tools, right? They're designed for this kind of workflow. They're designed to just to quickly message people. And yeah, we know there were things in the past, as I mentioned before, Skype for Business, but that was super clunky, right? That was
Mm.
you had to reach out to a person to message them. I find with Slack, it's become so kind of it's become such a part of most, especially most tech companies, where I guess because it's more like the IRC days, right, where you're all just in a room together chatting, also making some jokes. I never saw jokes in things like Skype for Business,
Mm.
but with Slack, with this, if you integrate it with Giphy and stuff, having a way to actually express emotions, it does make it more formal, more informal.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that in itself does make it a kind of a platform that it becomes easier to ask questions and to understand that they are people at the end of the day, people on the other end. Let's try and get rid of the kind of the culture of super corporate emails and actually just drop the person a question with a emoji attached and let's get some answers. So I think, yeah, definitely these tools have been designed for that very purpose. And I think in security we do need to embrace that. A lot of the security culture is very anti new tools. That we want to keep things the way that we know them, but things are changing, businesses are changing, the way that dev teams are working is changing, and if security can't keep up, we're going to be left behind, and we're not going to be able to help those companies as they do try to grow and grow in a secure way.
If you were running this podcast, absolute nonsense and a little bit of cybersecurity thrown in,
Mhm.
what would you ask you that I haven't asked you? And
So
what's your answer to that question?
I would ask me about Rex. And the answer for that question is Rex is a tool we're developing for kind of automated Android vulnerability scanning. As I said, we're really pushing this whole like DevSecops idea. Because I really do believe that is how security needs to evolve to stay relevant. So we're trying to develop tools that we think will be useful in that space. So Rex is going to be is actually the first version. We're about to release it. We're just about to start work on version 2. So as I said, it's a vulnerability scanner for Android apps, but the idea is that it's something that will plug into the DevSecops pipeline, give you continuous feedback.
In terms of penetration testing, have you seen any direct sort of trend changes as a result of COVID that you've seen from a penetration tester's perspective in customer environments?
So I guess not directly. The type of stuff that I tend to focus on, as I said, is more like application stuff. So I'll be working with like doing a pen test. Let's say a customer has developed an application. I'll be working on things like that. In which case, I don't think that's been super relevant to COVID, other than the fact that for a lot of those companies, especially the ones that help people do things remotely, they've had a massive intake of customers. In fact, I'm actually just finishing a pen test at the moment where it's that very thing. They have this application. They're a fairly small company, and they help kind of people do things remotely. And then COVID happened, and their user base just jumped up. They have way more users than they ever had. And so security then became like a super important thing for them. So like, I think that is one way that it's affecting some companies. But in terms of like the other side, so I guess like the more like infrastructure or actually attacks and stuff, I think I'm just kind of seeing the stuff that everyone else is seeing, phishing campaigns around COVID. Obviously, there's issues now with people working from home, so making sure that like things like VPNs are even configured. For a lot of these companies, having working in the office was the way things were done. So they spent a lot of effort making sure the office environment was secure, and then everyone has to work from home. So like, yeah, we're seeing things around that as well. But yeah, I guess nothing kind of more than what probably other pen test companies are seeing. Just there's this kind of rush to make sure things are secure now that people are getting more users, and a rush to try and get things secure now that people are working from home, and trying to be aware of the, as I said, like the phishing campaigns that are taking advantage of the situation.
Lockdown sort of lifted significantly. What's the first thing you did when you were free?
So I'm still inside. I have not done anything different, to be honest. I am just inside in front of my computer. I would be doing this even if lockdown is fully lifted, just because it's what I do. Yeah. So one thing that I'm looking forward to is kind of events starting back up. So I run a group in Manchester called Manchester Grey Hats, and we run workshops on lots of different topics, really. Basically anything that I'm interested in that specific month. And I miss that kind of stuff. So now that things are easing up, I am starting to think about what we're going to do, because we've not run any sessions since lockdown started. I'm not a massive fan of like these online events. They serve a purpose for sure, but now that lockdown is easing, I guess we'll see. I kind of want to wait a little bit longer to see how things go, but I think it's more what I'm looking forward to. I'm still yet to enjoy the ease of lockdown.
Yeah, I must admit, I know it's like some people deem it quite a controversial thing to say, but I've really enjoyed it. When I saw on the TV that they were gonna lift it, I was just my heart sunk a little bit.
I totally agree.
Well, we live this life anyway, don't we? Like you wake up, you brush your teeth, and then you sit at your computer, and then the next time you sort of need to, when you need to go out, it's because you think, oh shit, I've been at it all day and the shops are going to shut, and I need to get some milk or whatever. Do you know what I mean? And then you think, fucking hell, I've been sat at my desk all day. Exactly. And I've just really enjoyed not having the pressure of speaking engagements, which I love doing, and I'm totally fine to do it. But it's stress that you don't realize is there.
Yeah, I totally agree. I loved going out at the beginning when like everything was so quiet and eerie. I think this probably stems from all the zombie films I watched as a kid. And I would go outside I would just pretend to myself, oh yeah, it's finally happened. And now, now I do see more people when I call them going to the shop or something. And I'm starting to realize that is kind of over, at least for now. But yeah, I'm with you. I definitely feel sorry for people that have struggled more, and I've got some friends that really have struggled with the isolation. So I mean, it's definitely not been easy for everyone. I am very lucky in that, I'm happy to sit in front of a computer for hours at a time and then go to bed. I've been doing that since I was a teenager, almost like I've been training for this.
You've been training for the apocalypse your whole life.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't even know it.
Just without swords, ninjas, and guns.
Well, so I used to have this conversation with my younger brother, who's very kind of outdoorsy, very active. He likes camping and stuff. And he would say things like, oh, when the apocalypse happens, he was convinced that he would have the skills to survive. And me being just a computer nerd would kind of struggle. But actually, I remember when a slot for like delivery from the supermarket, everything was booked up so quickly. So I wrote a little script to tell me when there was a free slot so I could get one. And I was thinking, yeah, my skills, they've been useful. They've been useful.
What did you want to be when you grew up? And how does being a penetration tester at your own company compare?
Okay, so I've been pretty I've always had a good idea of what I wanted to do, right? So when I was the youngest, I remember wanting to be a specific thing. I wanted to be an inventor. I didn't know what that really meant. I just kept telling people I want to be an inventor. And then when I got a little bit older, and I realized that like inventor isn't really a job, more like engineer or something. So, okay, well, I want to do something with computers is what I thought. Then there's a little deviation and I wanted to be a comic book artist. And then I came back to technology. And then since I was probably around 15 or so, I always said to myself, I want to be a freelance hacker. That sounds super cool. Again, not really having an understanding of what a freelance hacker would entail. But if you think about it, now here I am, like 15 plus years on, and I run a cybersecurity company where I do pen testing. So technically, I've made it. I've become that freelance hacker that I always wanted to be. I think my thought process was a bit different back then. Probably was thinking less about testing people's web apps, and I was probably thinking more about deploying like malware to like whatever.
To free puppies from like exactly. An animal testing farm.
Exactly. I was kind of thinking like if there's like an alien invasion, they'd call me up and be like, hey, we need the best hacker in the world. But yeah, I mean, not quite that, but I think I got as close to that dream as kind of as is possible for me. So yeah, it is pretty close to what I wanted to be when I was a kid.
Awesome.
How about you? What did you want to do?
Oh God, no one's ever turned it around on me before. I always knew I wanted my own business, but I didn't know what in. I don't think I cared when I was younger. I was just like, yes, I'm going to sign things. It's going to be funny. So grown up. And I'm going to have a flip phone. Like, I wanted a flip phone. I wanted to be Ally McBeal. Like, I wear a skirt suit and trot around doing important things. Very, very strange child. Very strange child.
I think a lot of us insecurities
honest to God.
are kind of strange, to be honest. I don't think many of us had, kind of what you might consider a normal childhood. I think you do normal things and then end up doing this kind of thing for a living.
I had a Filofax.
Wow.
I had a Filofax. Like, I always, every Christmas, I wanted a Filofax. Nothing in it, but and love hearts and pictures of eyes and, I love Lee Brennan.
That's
I was
awesome.
in a boy band when I was younger. Yeah, but I wanted to carry a Filofax in my really smart cropped trousers and my little trench coat. I was like 6 years old in a trench coat. I don't know if I thought I was like a detective or something. I've no idea, but just I can't emphasize how strange. If I was my kid, I'd put me up for adoption. But anyway.
So that was it. I was just joined there by Jamal Harris, otherwise known as Jay. If you want to find out any more information about Jay or anything else that he's talked about today, you can go to digitalinterruption.com. Thanks. See you next time.